the part that I get from
Call the Westville Council meeting to order, please. All rise to the salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public notice, please.
This meeting was advertised in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act and complies with all the laws therein.
Roll call.
Mayor Fritz Sims.
Here.
Council President Charles Murtaugh.
Here.
Councilmember Donna D'Amico.
Here.
Councilmember Travis Lawrence.
Here.
Councilmember Paul Maley. Councilmember Bruce Nordeby.
Here.
Councilmember Timothy Young.
Here.
We have a quorum with one absent. Councilman Maley is sick and he's available by phone if needed. Next order, please.
We have the meeting minutes from June 17 council meeting and the July 6 work session.
Council, everyone has copies, your pleasure.
Motion. Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Next, please.
We have public comment on agenda items only.
Council? Need a motion to open up to the public.
Motion open. Second.
Questions on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The meeting is now open to the general public for any comments on the agenda items only. Sir?
Good evening. My name is Dan Young. I'm the owner of 910 Gateway Boulevard. I was speaking with Mr. Giles. He thought it'd be a good idea if I came down to introduce myself and see if there were questions about the project we're doing there and what our vision for the property is as far as the two apartment buildings. If you're not familiar with them, they're on Gateway Boulevard, and they were sitting pretty much dead for a few years. So our hope is to take these buildings and try to transform them as close to a new looking property as possible, and getting a much higher quality tenant. So we've already begun the process. We did the demolition. The crew's in there already. We're installing central air conditioning for every unit. Just in my experience of owning properties, we get a much better quality tenant when we have central air conditioning, granite countertops, things like that. So we're gonna try to improve the property to make it much nicer. I recognize there's the redevelopment going on, so I wanted to open a dialogue on just a few things that we were hoping to accomplish. I have looked at the property. There's 44 apartments, there's 31 parking spaces. My degree in finance tells me that that's not enough parking for the building, which means that once we're back in use, there's going to be residents that are parking on the streets, which would basically add to the burden in the neighborhood. So we're hoping to see if we could work something out where we could utilize the parking lot behind the building for the overflow for our residents. The other issue we're dealing with, it's probably no surprise to everyone, but when we went under contract for this building about 6 or 7 months ago, the price of materials and everything else was a lot lower. And we're constantly sitting here scratching our heads saying, how are we gonna make our budget happen and make it work? So I wanted to see if it was possible to talk about an abatement on the improvements as part of the redevelopment package. Myself, I own properties anywhere from Trenton to Pittman. I pride myself on taking a lot of those bad properties that are a burden on the town and trying to transform them into something that is more appealing and, more importantly, not a burden on the town. Out of all the properties, we pride ourselves on not having code enforcement violations. If there's ever an issue, every inspector in the towns we work in know they can just call us and we'll rectify it if humanly possible within 24 hours. Just to try to be a part of the community, not to be a burden on the community. I've done projects in Magnolia. I think Mr. Giles is familiar with that one. Luckily he drives past it on his way to work. I've done properties working with the township in Roebling as part of Florence Township, taking one of their problem properties and making it where it's been problem-free for years now.
So Dan, thank you for that little presentation, and thank you for the interest in Westville and redeveloping that complex over there, because it's, as you know, it's sorely needed. It's been that way for some years now, and we've been hoping for somebody like yourself to come in and do what you're doing over there. So just like to start off thanking you for that. As far as the parking issues, that would, I believe it would have to go through the land use before a CO and that's issued to
Well, I mean,
discuss
if
the
it's a
parking.
pre-existing, non-conforming, but, so you don't have to do that, but if you wanted to increase the parking, if you wanted to lease some land or anything like that, we can definitely open a conversation on, we don't particularly need planning and zoning for that, do you, right, Tim?
No, not at all, and with the fact that now actually you're gonna be benefiting by the redevelopment designation, because those lots are now included, gives us the opportunity to actually to create parking as a accessory use probably to his apartment complex without having to go to the planning board. Yeah.
And with the other thing on this abatement issue, I had spoken with Mr. Young about it. It's, so even though we're memorializing the resolution tonight for redevelopment, we could theoretically name him the developer of that site on that location, and we can negotiate like a tax agreement for him for whatever that abatement could be. Or we can use this ordinance for whatever commercial property, is that correct?
Yeah, no, certainly. Are you looking for the 5-year that you applied through the county, the normal, that we would approve by ordinance for the improvements?
I was hoping we could work out a 10-year on the improvements, just because the improvements are quite substantial.
So a 10-year is a long-term tax abatement type document.
And that being named as a developer, he could do that.
Yeah, although I think a 10-year, you have to be it's a long-term, forget the name of it, but it's not just a normal redeveloper type project, it's the long-term tax abatement. And I believe is at least 20, 30, 40 years, you have to form a certain type of corporation to qualify. And usually, my experience is if it isn't worth over $20 million, you wouldn't do it. And this is, you're doing improvements versus ground up. Well, you're gonna spend a lot of money, I assume.
Yeah.
I don't think financially that would work. I think you're stuck within the 5-year range. But the borough could look at the 5-year tax abatement, the financial agreement.
Well, that's in the ordinance already,
Right.
but I mean, I don't know if you go beyond that, is what I'm saying. Like,
Well, the
or you should be able to go beyond
redeveloper
that.
designation might allow us to play around with the percentages, over the 5 years, instead of the 0, 20, 40, 60, 80. You might want to change that number up, you could change that number up a little bit, less, more near the end. But certainly a conversation we can have. When do you think you'll get a sale on the property?
2 weeks. Okay.
Shut me down on that one too.
A lot of times that joke's flops because no one's seen the money paid. We're probably looking at 6 months, where our time constraint would be, not a matter of days, but a matter of months, is just trying to figure out the budget for the exterior as far as, depending upon how the tax abatement plays out, it gives us more money available to work on the outside, to make it more aesthetically appealing, so. Within that, I would say months. I have to make the decision on the outside of the building probably in about 3 months.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it tonight, but I'm sure I'd be happy to go over with Ryan and then look at what the statutes are, what the available abatements are. And so I'm sensing that the governing body is certainly willing to help you to continue to make that a better property.
I appreciate that.
Dan, you know, I have two questions for you. So when that's all done, how many 2-bedrooms and how many 1-bedrooms apartments you want to have?
So it'll be 12 2-bedrooms and 32 1-bedrooms.
And are you, is it going to be possibly age restricted? Is it going to have just children in there, or whoever just moves in?
I'm sure you're all aware I can't discriminate based on age, race, sex, marital status, familial status, or anything.
So it's not going to be 55 and over?
No, we're not gonna,
That's my
we're not
question.
gonna seek a 55 and older designation.
Is it market rate rentals?
Yes.
Sounds great.
but it isn't often we have children in one-bedroom units. So,
Used to. Multiple children. That's our issues. I think we have to have further discussions to see what the visions are before we do anything else.
And your tenants, when we talked before, you have a high standard on what tenants you select?
I can tell you this, in 2019, so this is pre-pandemic, out of 300 tenants, we locked out one. Probably for every 25 applications that are submitted, 24 are rejected. Between credit standards, income standards, length of time on job, their debt service coverage can't exceed a certain percentage of their income. We literally analyze these tenants like a bank. I purchased a building in Burlington City, which was out of bankruptcy. There were 3 paying tenants in the building when we purchased it, and we removed all 3 tenants because we knew they would be a problem. And when you have problem tenants in a building, it spreads, and before you know it, your entire building spreads. So in the past, and my position always is, whether it's a paying tenant or not, if they're not good for the building, we'll move them out of the building. We don't want it, so.
Will there be a project manager on site?
So
When it's
I'm leaning towards there being a superintendent living on site. Currently, 3 of my maintenance workers live within a few miles of the building, but I am leaning towards a superintendent, either living at this building or a building down the street. So.
Council, any questions? Further questions?
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I would just stay in touch with the administrator, let him know what you're doing and what your wants are, and they'll come back to us and we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you so much. If there's ever any follow-up questions, just let me know. Nice to meet everyone.
Thank
We'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public for the agenda items?
Joyce Level, 328 Summit Avenue. Just a question under the regular resolutions. 90-2021, could you tell us where Block 71 lots 21 to 23 are?
They are the 910 Gateway where you're speaking on, and the soccer fields in the park back there.
So it covers that whole,
That
all the
whole
way?
area behind Pellegrino is all the way back, and then the 910 Gateway property, all together.
Altogether?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments from the public?
Seeing none, motion to close. Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, thank you. Next order, please.
We have committee reports.
Council, everybody has their committee reports emailed. Your pleasure.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions on the reports or the motion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next, please.
We received a letter from the Land Use Board Solicitor Linda Galella advising council that ordinance 9-2021 is not inconsistent with the master plan. Therefore, council can move forward with the public hearing on ordinance 9-2021 regarding cannabis businesses within the borough of Westville.
And that is on the agenda. Did you do it tonight? Next order, please.
We have the public hearing on ordinance 9-2021, ordinance of the borough of Westville in the county of Gloucester, New Jersey, prohibiting the operation of any class of cannabis businesses within its geographical boundaries, and amending chapter 205, land use development, section 76, prohibited uses of the code of the borough of Westville.
Council, your pleasure on the public hearing.
Motion open. Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. So before anybody wants to speak on the cannabis ordinance, we found some further information out today on this, and I'll let the solicitor make comments on it.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Interestingly, at the City of Woodbury council meeting last night, some interested party brought to the city's attention that at the Cannabis Commission meeting in Trenton, which is this commission that's supposedly gonna, at some point in time, actually establish the rules and regulations and guidelines that don't currently exist for ultimate cannabis sales and businesses. Someone in the audience asked a question to them regarding if municipalities opt out, which is pretty much what we're doing by this ordinance, which is an ordinance that had been put together by the League of Municipalities as the short-term stop measure to allow municipalities to at least meet what the law says, but also then afford them additional time to more thoroughly address the question of where they may or may not want to locate any of the 6 classes of cannabis. The concern that was raised in Woodbury is, what if somehow that the Cannabis Commission regulates something that would say, if you have opted out, that is putting something on the books in Westville, this ordinance would put our position on the books, because there is a deadline by the law that says municipalities must do something by August 22nd of August of this year, or failure to do so is an automatic default that allows for the manufacture, cultivation of marijuana in any of the industrial district zones within your community, and also allows for the retail sale of cannabis as a conditional use within any of our retail or commercial districts that we have in the borough of Westville. So by default, the law that the governor signed, the legislature put to the governor, automatically would create these permitted uses. The push and the understanding that I as a solicitor have, and again, I reconfirmed that with Frank Marshall, who is the general counsel to the League of Municipalities. His understanding is that if we opt in or opt out by ordinance before the 22nd, that a municipality can still change their mind thereafter to either include it or opt back out of it again if they decide they don't want to do it. But because of this question and the potential of the fear that, to the extent Westville may have in the future wanted to do something, we don't want to preclude that opportunity. So we're just going to try to look into it a little bit further. And my recommendation is after the public hearing that we table the adoption, and then we're going to revisit this, I believe, at our next meeting, which is a work session. I hope that makes sense.
So with that being said, we had a motion to open the public hearing. So it is now open to the public for the public hearing. Anybody would like to speak?
Joyce Level, 328 Summit Avenue. I'm still trying to digest the wheels on what you just said there. And Brian called me last night and he was hoping that you might reconsider the use of this further down the pike because the revenue could help different things in town. Am I understanding correct that this is something the governor is going to do and that deadline of August 22nd is a firm deadline?
The law that was signed by him has a August 22nd drop dead date for municipalities.
And as I understood from what you were saying on the drop dead, if we opt out of this and then we don't do something again by that deadline, that basically the governor can say, sorry pal, you got it. And somebody can move in here and do things. Is that my understanding?
That is the law.
Okay.
If we do nothing, if we adopt no ordinance, do nothing, the law says as of August 22nd, for a period of 5 years, those uses are permitted and we can't prohibit them during that 5-year period.
Wow. So what kind of options do we have?
Our ordinance is, an ordinance says we recognize that the legalization of cannabis, we recognize the different classes, we recognize that maybe we're interested, maybe we're not, but that for government to decide what it wants to do within 180 days of the law, kind of made it difficult for communities to make decisions, particularly since there are no rules or regulations as to how this will actually work, and that we are opting out until we can better understand it, better evaluate it, to decide whether we do or don't. But you have to get something on the books before August 22nd.
Okay, but if
We're
we,
prohibiting it this way.
if we opt out of it and then we can't re-enter it until 5 years from now, is that correct? If you do the ordinance?
No, that's the question that I don't know the answer.
That's the question you don't have an answer on.
Yes.
Okay, you heard my opinion 2 months ago on it. The only thing I could accept would be like an edible medical marijuana thing, because I saw my mother suffer so bad when she was being treated with chemo for cancer. That I could accept. I have problems, and there would have to be tight restrictions on children, not making things so pretty, adding a bitter taste, whatever, that children won't be eating this stuff. That I could accept, but if we tell people they can't smoke cigarettes, how dare we tell somebody else you can have a joint? I mean, that's my personal opinion. But to look at somebody and say that marijuana is going to fry your brain and kill you, if you're already dying, it really doesn't matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. Any other comments?
Mayor, so to be clear, we're not voting on this tonight?
We are not moving to adopt, that is correct. We are going to table it after the public hearing.
Well, we do have to do something before the 22nd.
Yes.
Once we get that question that's out there to do what.
Very valuable property you own, that would be wonderful for the site, just so you know.
It's not big enough, Don. Already been approached if you're talking about a deadline.
Then I don't see why we worry about where we go, because it
I'm
can't
not,
be
no,
Broadway.
it's not that, it's not large enough, it's not a large enough property. I was approached by the county,
So-
and they're looking for acres and acres.
There's nowhere else in Westville that would be big enough then, so
Right.
why trouble? It doesn't trouble you.
What's
And
that?
that's just the cultivation part, if that's like
I'm
one.
saying-
I'm talking
Depending on
retail
what you
store
put-
about
The
it.
retail store.
Broadway's not big enough.
Question, please.
Okay, I'm not voting on it. That's the
If they're
answer.
looking for 20.
John, that's one of the issues. There's so many open things here, and we originally want to opt out thinking that we can get right back in if we had to. So now we're being told that that may not be the case.
Right.
So that's why,
I don't think we should ever opt out, but that's my opinion.
well, that's why, again, that's why we want to suggest the table and
Okay.
do something before the 22nd.
Right, and we can.
Whatever
do
that
on the
is.
third.
Don, at the commission meeting yesterday, the question was asked of the commission, and if all the towns, and pretty much most of the towns have opted out, if they opt out, are they gonna be precluded from
Right.
opting back in?
Right.
And they didn't answer it, and that's where all this
Right,
Okay.
which
Came
is,
in.
right, so if somebody's opting out, why not opt in? Be a leader, just get revenue, need revenue.
The problem is the commission hasn't set any rules, regulations.
zero.
Right,
Right.
So if we opt in and they come out and they set regulations that are gonna hurt the town, we can't opt out.
right.
So,
If they model it after Nevada and Colorado and all these other cities and towns, that it's already easily done and it's all a well-oiled machine, I don't understand what the fear is. And people do not walk around smoking joints that leave Belmar. They don't. They get their weed, they get their edibles, and they leave. I mean, you know, that's who we talk to is Belmar. I mean, it might smell a little bit on Creek Road, but, and I'm just saying, but it's not like people are standing in line smoking joints and not doing that. That's not, it's medical.
I think, like Tim said, I think it's the concern of all the different unknowns that we
Right.
want to be clear before we do anything.
Right, I can appreciate that. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Need a motion to close the public hearing, please?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And then we have to take action on the, if we're on the table or not until.
Motion to table till the work session in August.
second.
Questions on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember D'Amico?
Yes.
Councilmember Lawrence?
Yes.
Councilmember Nordby?
Yes.
Councilmember Young?
Yes.
Council President Murtaugh.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you, council, and just to reiterate, this is a major decision for us to make, and we just need to be careful and make sure we realize what we're doing, so thank you for that. Next, please.
We have the consent agenda. The items listed below are considered to be routine by the Borough of Westville and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no formal discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, this item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately.
Pleasure, council.
Mayor, I have some questions regarding Resolution 88, 2021.
We can take it out of there and discuss it afterwards, Travis.
Okay.
Anything else, consent agenda, we'll take that out and talk about that after we approve the consent.
I just have a comment, Mayor, for the North Shore barges, 8621 for 2021. I had received a phone call from our original barge operator who no longer works for the company that we hire every other year. It's his own barge that he used to float for Pyrotechnica or International. And I told him that we would reach out to him next year for the fireworks to get a quote, which should be considerably less than what we paid North Star. But I understand how it happened, because they called the company, he's Scott Barge in my phone, and I used to just call him directly. So he asked to be contacted next year to quote for the barge.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, and they'll save us money, they'll save us a couple of thousand, so.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Pleasure on the consent.
Motion approved. Second.
Any other questions? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember D'Amico?
Yes.
Councilmember Lawrence?
Yes.
Councilmember Nordeby?
Yes.
Councilmember Young?
Yes.
Council President Murtaugh?
Yes.
Motion carried. We can go to Resolution 88, 2021.
Authorizing the placement of property maintenance liens.
Yeah, I have a couple questions on, Ryan, maybe you can answer this. How are the property maintenance liens figured out, stuff like that? Just because looking through the agenda and everything tonight, I know there's more than 2 properties that have issues that property maintenance liens should be put towards per our ordinances. So I just don't understand, because if we're going, we're going to put property maintenance liens against people, it should be for everybody, not just this person, that person, whoever. It should be for everybody.
How it works, Councilman, so we would send a violation notice, we somebody would make a complaint, or we find from a viewing, they make a complaint, we go out, investigate, determine if the violation is, then we post it on the door, especially like, for instance, for high grass. We post it on the door, they have 5 days to rectify, we come back and the thing wasn't abated in 5 days. We then would send our crew to go out and cut. After it's cut, Chris will get the work order and send to us, and we will put it on a lien based on that, based on the ordinance fees that we have set aside. That determines the cost of it. If there is multiple properties, so maybe they're not on the list that Dennis would have gone to, or Marty have seen, honestly, on that thing. It's like, so I don't know, it's only 2, I don't know the 2 properties you're talking about, but I don't know what other property that could be on there. If there were on there, he could have gone to the property, given a 5-day notice, and they cut it, and then it could be a while before he goes back. That has happened. So, and it used to be 10 days, but we changed it to 5 days in the ordinance earlier this year.
Yeah.
So that's how the process kind of works. If I mess anything up, then it's just let me know.
Can I just explain something?
Yeah.
Travis, they're only leaned, and obviously Dominic's more than this than I do. They're only leaned when the job is done, if we did something.
Okay.
Okay, so, I don't know, you said you had 2 of them there?
There's
That-
2 on the list.
That may have been their cut days.
Okay.
That we have a list, Marty has a list, and Chris has a list that are, what are on property maintenance liens that they go to. If they check it and see that it does not need it at that time, they will not cut it, okay? But then they'll go back into 2 weeks.
Okay.
Unless I say take it off because it is now being maintained. So that list only shows what work has been performed by our public works. So next month, you may have 12 of them on there.
Okay.
And that's happened in the past. We've had up to, what I've seen is 15 at one time.
Yeah, so.
I guess it's the timing of.
Yeah, it's all about when they get to it, I would assume.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 317.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Pleasure on the resolution?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember D'Amico?
Yes.
Councilmember Lawrence?
Yes.
Councilmember Nordeby?
Yes.
Councilmember Young?
Yes.
Council President Murtaugh?
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Next, please.
Hey, Mayor, can I add one thing to that lien issue that just came to my head? That one property, 317, has raccoons living in it. They've been seen in broad daylight from residents on Holland Avenue. So I don't know if we can do anything about that, and I mean, that property's been vacant for 35 years, I think.
When you said.
317 Highland?
Highland, right?
Yes, there's
Yes.
no
Well,
raccoons.
They're living in the roof?
Yeah, now, and that's another issue, if, obviously if it's vacant and we have to do something about it, it's gonna cost us. You know, whether we repair it, again, we'll lien the property. If it's not vacant, just like any other property maintenance, you know, I assume it's a soffit.
It's the roof overhang and the porch.
Okay.
And they're out during the day, which tells you there's
Yes.
something wrong.
Right. And if the residents address it, that's one thing. If they don't, the only thing in my power I can do is bring them to court. And again, that's a process. You go to court, you can find somebody X amount of dollars. It's whether they pay it or not, but it doesn't get the job done. So, but that, yes, we can. The bottom line is, yeah, we can do something.
Well, we have to do something. I mean,
No,
honestly,
but-
as the council, this property, 317 Highland, has been vacant for 30 years. How long have you lived there? 16 years. And again, I mean, this is, I guess, a proper conversation, but.
I have no problem. At one point, we have to get it done, but then the burden's on us.
No, I understand.
And then we
But
leave the property.
but there has to be, with building, construction, and codes, and all this enforcement and nonsense, there has to be the borough has to be able to do something. There's no reason, rhyme or reason, that a property can sit vacant for 30 years, like that property, and this isn't the first rodeo with things.
Is it?
No, not at all. I mean, again, I'm not a lawmaker, and I know Tim would know more than me, but it really seems like this is a focal point we should be working at, and I know we're talking about it. But honestly, when residents come during the day saying, I'm seeing raccoons, what are you gonna do about it? Call the borough? I don't know what to tell you. You're a council person, yeah, I am, I know. You know, but I'm just saying, I got that property years ago.
I know.
It's time though, we should just do it, and my opinion is,
The
do it,
properties
and
that
then
were
worry about later.
identified, the
Legalities.
properties that were identified as abandoned, vacant abandoned.
It's abandoned. It's been vacant,
No,
abandoned.
It has been, it's already been established, that one, abandoned. That is when we can take it over,
No,
that's all
we
mine.
need to do it though, this is what I'm saying, the borough needs to start doing that, that's what we need to do.
Okay, that's beyond my pay scale, what I'm
Right.
saying, there's certain procedures, it's a legal procedure, has to go in the paper, has to
So-
do this, so that is, I believe we're having a meeting
Right,
anyway.
right.
Next week
Yeah.
on that, and then, once the powers to be, the legal minds know what to do, they put it all in, and that gets the process
Right.
started, then we can actually take the property over. And then we can-
That will be my platform, because, again, you all know my own, forget my own personal.
Bring it to the wire.
It's time, been time.
And what about properties that are occupied, but then look like jungles?
See? I know which one you're talking about.
Oh, I know.
You're talking the one on Snyder.
Yep.
Okay. 3 times already been in court. can't get blood from it. So, okay, I understand. And again, the borough is not gonna go on somebody's property that is occupied. They're not gonna do it. You know?
I understand that.
Now, even if they said, sure, you can come in, you can leave my property. That property, we do not have the capability to do it.
No.
Can we again, if the resident says, yeah, you can bring somebody in here and leave my property, we have to hire somebody. I've been 3 times, I'm on my 4th one, that's pending court again, 4 times. Again, what can we do about it?
Yeah, but there's gotta be, I get it, I know it's above, you know, I understand that, but then looking at, all right, we're gonna get this guy, because his grass is above 6 inches, and then you have that person is a jungle in their backyard.
We
Doesn't
do
that
get
kind
that,
of,
but we are getting that person. Again, I go back to, you can find people. That doesn't
I get it,
rectify the situation.
I get it.
And that
And
person has liens against them already.
again, I have no problem contacting people, working with public work, and contacting somebody and negotiating, not negotiating, speaking to the owners. If we're bringing somebody in here, we just want permission to go on your property, I don't know what contractor would, and then we're gonna lien the property. Again, the expense is on us.
Well, you would need a major brush hog.
Oh, yeah.
That's beyond a
I
cut, or that's chainsaws, and that, you could get the Bay Shore, whatever, the prison crew in there maybe. And I'm being serious.
That
Look at
property,
River.
the issue with that property is because it is occupied.
Yes, no, I know, but it's just, again, our hands are tied, it just seems like there's never an answer, just, and I'm not putting that on you, I
No,
clearly
know.
understand your position.
Again,
Anyway, I talked about it,
I'm
there's
on my
no way.
4th summons today.
See, it just doesn't, they shouldn't be able, people shouldn't just be able to do that, you know?
So just so everybody knows, after the last council meeting when we had a similar topic of vacant houses, I set up a meeting, the meeting Dennis is talking about, with myself, Councilwoman D'Amico, the administrator, code enforcement, housing, and everybody involved with vacant houses and code enforcement, what we're just talking about here tonight. For that meeting will take place this coming Tuesday at 10 o'clock in the conference room amongst everybody to try and get, and I think we all agree, our hands are tied and it's been going on for a while, but we all know we have to do something. The time is now to do something. To what we can do legally, that's what we get to have to do. We go to court, whatever the court says, we have to abide by. So I think we all agree. That's why I set up the meeting, to finally sit down with everybody involved and get something going, and we'll go from there. So we're trying. I know it doesn't move as fast as everybody wants it to, but government don't move fast for whatever reasons, but we're trying.
Yeah, just quickly on the what do you call it, raccoons, I know daytime would suggest rabbit being called a county animal, or I know in another one of the municipalities that had a vacant house with rats. I mean, they hired an exterminating company, but as Dennis said, the bill comes back to the municipality, but they did hire a private exterminator or trapper to get rid of the animals. But, that's an alternative, but again, the dime is on Westville. Unless the county will trap them for us. That's an alternative.
Any other comments?
Mayor, I suggest to reach out to the prosecutor and have a long discussion with him, especially if we're going 4 times for the same property. Maybe we can ask him within the laws to make the punishment a little steeper. Eye-catching, attention grabbing, I don't know what we're going to call it.
The fines that were established fines, we have a minimum.
Are they progressive?
And we've gone all the way up. We have a minimum and a maximum. Obviously, I'm not a judge, I can't see any judge putting anybody in jail for property maintenance issues. And that doesn't have to be the case for anything, so. But they have been progressive, and I will make sure The fourth one, when we finally get, because we're still in this Zoom, okay, and they're not issuing any failure to appears because of Zoom, that we are at the top of the scale, because we range from 100 to 1,000 is the max. Now, the fines can be X amount per day, okay?
That's what I mean, attention getter.
But it's still, you have to look at reality. You know, you're gonna have someone that is, I'm just gonna say, maybe this isn't, he's down on our luck and all, and we want $1,000 fine. Well, it's been like that for, I'm gonna say 4 months, it's been more. Is anybody gonna issue $1,000 fine for 4 months? You know, that's not reality, you know, with the court's in, but we do progress each time a repeat offender goes. So, but that is an attention getter, but is it reality?
But reality is, for the people who live next to these properties,
I know.
it's insane. It's just, we could keep saying our hands are tied.
You, like, again, I
They
know.
can forgiveness later.
No, you can find somebody $10,000.
Right.
It still does not, what I say is, we still don't get compliance.
Right.
You know, if they're not gonna pay somebody to come to their property to clean it up, they're not gonna.
Well, but then with so many liens, you sell the liens, then there's tax, that goes into the tax sale.
Well, not property maintenance, you can't sell liens.
You can't sell these liens at tax sale.
So they don't get satisfied?
They don't get satisfied.
So if I have liens against if I decide not to cut my grass for the rest of my life in Westville, and you can lien the heck out of me, I never have to pay it, really.
Pretty much.
Right.
Unless you-
That's insane.
unless
That's,
you- unless you go to-
That's not.
It's the reality, but
That's-
I mean,
that's-
that's where you get the problem.
then
You're not
people
gonna
need to
tax
change
them.
these laws, because that's silly. That makes no sense. Who would ever pay them? So there'd be free grass cutting for the rest of them. That's a good idea. Thank you for that. Guess what? Add you to your list. Great, good part.
I'll be there tomorrow.
I'm kidding. I'm
It's
not
called,
kidding.
it's called people beating the system is what it's called, you know?
Wow, I didn't know that all this time.
Sorry to break the news to you, but.
All these years?
All right, anything else?
I'm
I
serious.
think we're all clear on what we want and what we hope to see.
Thank you for the clarification, Dennis.
Next order, please.
We are on resolution number 89, authorizing approval of the bill list for July 15th, 2021.
Council,
Motion to approve.
Second.
questions on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember D'Amico?
Yes.
Councilmember Lawrence?
Yes.
Councilmember Nordeby?
Yes.
Councilmember Young?
Yes.
Council President Berthold?
Yes.
Motion carried. Next, please.
We have resolution number 90, designating block 71, lots 21, 22.01, and 23 as an area in need of redevelopment.
Want to comment on that, Ryan, at all?
Yes, this is the area we discussed, Mr. Young is part of. We started this process prior to Mr. Young taking ownership of the property. We, the town wanted to put it in an area redevelopment because it needed to be redeveloped. Right now, it is starting to get redeveloped, hopefully, but this also gives us protection to, if he doesn't do what he's supposed to do, that we can actually take action. So this is something we wanted to get in there. This is a non-condemnation action in need of redevelopment.
Council, your pleasure.
Motion approved.
Second.
Questions on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember D'Amico?
Yes.
Councilmember Lawrence?
Yes.
Councilmember Nordeby?
Yes.
Councilmember Young?
Yes.
Council President Berthold?
Yes.
Motion carried. Next, please.
We have resolution number 91, requesting approval of items of revenue and appropriation, NJSA 40A:4-87, for Clean Communities Cleanup Program in the amount of $500.
Council,
Motion to approve.
Second.
questions? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember D'Amico?
Yes.
Councilmember Lawrence?
Yes.
Councilmember Nordeby?
Yes.
Councilmember Young?
Yes.
Council President Berthold?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Next, please.
Resolution number 92, endorsing the application and submission of a grant application and execution of an agreement for municipal aid from the New Jersey Department of Transportation for local aid for the reconstruction of Lehigh Avenue and State Road.
John, this was a late addition to the agenda. Do you want to make any comments on
This is just a requirement for our grant application that we submitted to NJDOT. We need a formal support, needing resolution from the governing body.
John, I have a question. Are you including any more, is storm sewer involved with this?
The grant application is for the reconstruction of the roadway base and surface course. If and were directed concrete curb replacement, all concrete driveway aprons, and reconstruction of the inlets.
Only to the fact that during my tenure, we paved that in 1994, and they used that lime slurry seal, which I was against because it's clay. So the pavement failed. Within 2 years, we called them on the maintenance bond and made them come back. And the amount of water that's pumped from some pumps there is an issue, especially on State, and running down Lehigh. We tried to rectify a little bit, but, I mean, to me, I don't know if there's money to do it, but
And that's what we can look at when we get the grant from the DOT. If we get the grant from the DOT, see what monies they do allot to the project. And we certainly are locked in with the scope. I mean, we can add drainage.
and that was our highest priority road, Lehigh and State.
Yes, that was the one issue.
Okay.
it? So we have some options once we, if we do get the grant.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions, council? Roll call vote, please.
We need a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. You need a motion, council?
Motion.
Second. Any other questions on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember D'Amico?
Yes.
Councilmember Lawrence?
Yes.
Councilmember Nordeby?
Yes.
Councilmember Young?
Yes.
Council President Murtaugh?
Yes.
Next, please.
We have an auction of public land for Block 29, Lots 6, 7, and 8, which is at Timber Avenue, that will be conducted by Solicitor Scafidi.
Per the solicitor, we need to table this tonight. We don't have all the information or paperwork needed to proceed with this.
That's correct, Mayor. This is a public land sale. It would require public notices, at least probably 30 days before we can actually sell it. The resolution 92 was adopted on July 7th. We need to get the publications. I should have let Kate know about that ahead of time. And I was wanting to make sure that we can prove that we own these lots, because I understand it's down on Timber Avenue. Historically, sometimes it's hard to figure out when we took title of these properties, and then that becomes a nightmare. But we'll move forward with it, get the public notices out, and then be in a position to have the actual auction. But yes, to the table tonight. No action taken.
So we need that in a motion to table the auction.
So moved.
Second.
Any other questions? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember D'Amico?
Yes.
Councilmember Lawrence?
Yes.
Councilmember Nordeby?
Yes.
Councilmember Young?
Yes.
Council President Murtaugh?
Yes.
Motion carried. Next, please.
We have a request from a resident at 145 Locust Avenue looking for assistance in reducing her water bill that was higher than normal due to a leaking toilet. And this request was sent to the Water Committee for review prior to the meeting.
John, have you had a chance to review it?
I mean, I didn't with the committee, but I reviewed it my personal self, and I believe she's probably 90, in her 90, I think she's 92.
Close to 99.
99. In my opinion, an elderly resident who's been here her whole life, maybe we should work with her. I mean, she can't get down her steps to know it was running. Public Works shut it off. They shut the valve off, so. That's just my opinion. I know that we don't like to set precedent, but there's some gray area for a reason. So that's my opinion, that we should relieve her from that burden.
Well, in the past, we were always told we couldn't relieve them, but we can set up payments, but I don't know if that still exists or not.
We can relieve them, we'd have to agree to it. Right, Ryan?
You can relieve them on payment on the excess, not the bill itself or in the interest. So there's no interest right now, but on the excess, you can relieve them of that. It's just say if there's like because you have to have relief just in case if there's like a problem with the meter and stuff like that. There has to be ways to relieve you. So you take action on that. You can that, but you can do payment plans also, which has been best practice that we have done.
Any other comments, council? No other comments, and we need a motion to take the work committee's recommendation.
Motion to accept recommendation.
Second.
Questions?
I'm in favor of was this caught with our radio read system that it was in excess?
I'm not even sure, I think it was in her bill.
It was in her bill, she got it from her bill.
We have that capability though, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, could it be, but if it's consistent every month, it's not gonna, every day, it's not gonna
I
find.
know who
No,
it is.
the
It's-
way that system works, and I'm working with it daily, that picks up any large use in a 24-hour period, and it'll send an alarm or an alert to whatever computer's designated.
That's on Terry's desk, but I don't think that, maybe she doesn't have it right now, her.
She might not have that in next year yet.
I don't know.
We don't, not the whole town, only thousands of the 1,800.
Yeah, once it's done, honestly, and I know from Gloucester, every single day we get alerts, and we immediately go notify the people. I mean, and if they
We have
choose
caught
to
that
opt out.
before, multiple times.
Yeah,
Yeah, Terry did show me that feature on it, so
Yeah,
she does
that's
get
good.
alarms, maybe that house doesn't have it yet.
right,
Yeah, that's
right,
right.
it may not, I may not have it, because it's a certain, you have to change all the MXUs too, so.
Yeah,
The
we have a
remotes.
with Pro Phoenix or, I mean, with the, whatever the one.
Chuck,
the
once,
percentage one.
once the town is 100%, it's a brilliant system.
That's why I'm asking that question. I thought that's how brilliant it was. Just not for Mrs. M, that's
No,
all.
no, that's it.
Any other questions on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember D'Amico?
Yes.
Councilmember Lawrence?
Yes.
Councilmember Nordeby?
Yes.
Councilmember Young?
Yes.
Council President Berthold?
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Next, please.
We have a request from Robert Fowler of Belmar to use the Westville ball fields located on Almanesson to host an Alex's Lemonade event on August the 28th. And this was sent to the Parks Committee for review prior to the meeting.
Council President?
Yeah, I sent the committee, we've seen no issues. Mr. Fowler was one of our career firefighters here in town, so, and Alex Lemonade is, it's a class act, and I don't see any reason to deny it. Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember D'Amico?
Yes.
Councilmember Lawrence?
Yes.
Councilmember Nordeby?
Yes.
Councilmember Young?
Yes.
Council President Berthold?
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Next, please.
This request was also sent to the committee for review, and it's a request from the Gloucester County Women's Slow Pitch League to use the Helen Walker Field on Sundays from September 12th to November 7th during the hours of 9 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Council President again?
Yeah, it's every year. Hopefully they'll win a championship one of these times. They can put their winnings towards retrofit the field. Motion to approve.
Second.
I see one abstention on this one, Mayor.
Yeah. Any other questions on the motion?
I have a comment, we were close this year.
Better playing field, you would have got it. Though that one girl chased me when I was walking from my friend son's game and hit pretty far. So I don't know who was pitching that day, but maybe it could have been better.
Could have been that picture.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember D'Amico?
Abstained.
Councilmember Lawrence?
Yes.
Councilmember Nordeby?
Yes.
Councilmember Young?
Yes.
Council President Berthold?
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Good luck, Don. Next, please.
We have an item for discussion. It's Aces Auto Sales that will be addressed by Code Enforcement Officer Freeman.
Okay, we'll turn this over to Dennis, our code enforcement. Floor is yours, Dennis.
Thank you, Mayor. We're here to discuss ACE's used auto sales after discussions, numerous department heads. And the issue at this point is the configuration of the cars that were there, the block, the driveways and everything. Since, at that point, what I did, I sent a letter to them and invited them to a council meeting at the request of others to discuss this so we can work out something through zoning, okay? Since then, I was contacted by the owner who's sitting back here with his attorney. I've spoken to both of them. I visited the property. I sent pictures, so everybody should have the packet. The pictures are just to show you a layout of everything around, okay? Upon that, I did some research, okay? Obviously, everybody got this, and this is the only thing that's in our files on that property, okay? Apparently, the previous owner got approved by a subcommittee. One report here looks like it was an actual land use meeting, okay? They got downtown preservation appropriateness certificates for the retaining wall, the siding and everything. They were allowed to expand the parking lot. Okay, so they did everything right. In one of the notes, obviously it's a note on these in 2012, I see that it says a site plan had to be submitted, okay? But then after that, a CO was issued, business as usual, so a site plan very well may have been issued. Nowhere to be found, okay? But obviously, it was going on much before Jerry took over. When Jerry took over, you know, unbeknownst to anyone, that there was never a site plan or how many cars were supposed to be there. In these notes, which they're all over the place, obviously, they're just notes, it says the previous owner was requesting 30 cars. Well, nothing in there denies it, and nothing in there, but it does approve it. So, to make a long story short, okay, I visited the property, I was with Jerry, we walked around, okay? At that time, that was yesterday. He was doing some work there to figure out how he wants these cars. My only issue is that the ingress and egresses were blocked. He can fit, there was 37 cars there yesterday, and the ingress and egresses were not blocked. So it's possible for him to do this, okay? And he knows that, and he's willing to do it, okay? And again, this is no fault of his own that no number was set. My request, obviously, I'm gonna let them speak. My request from the council is, first of all, I think it's unfair to ask for a site plan at this point when basically somebody dropped the ball and it may have been us. Or we may have it and it's never been there, okay? Because obviously a small business owner, it's a burden on the cost of that. But but they have agreed, and again, I'm not gonna speak for Jerry or his attorney, he can tell you. They have agreed to present to zoning, and if anybody wants to be in it with me, and we'll address how he, some type of drawing he will do, how he's going to situate the cars. He has tentatively agreed to 2 or 3 empty parking spaces that will be lined for customer use, okay? Some of the problems are customers will stop on that roundabout. No fault of his, that's where they stop, okay? He does have room for that. He doesn't have an issue at this point. But my issue, my biggest issue in Bayberry were the blocking of the entrances in. Now there are 3 exits and entrances into that property. One is directly just before you get to the property. I'm talking about I'll call it 45, but I guess it's 130, you know, but is right there. Then as you make the turnaround, obviously everybody knows what I'm talking. There's another driveway. That you can't use that anyway, because once you're making the turn, you don't even know it's there. Okay. That one isn't of a concern. And then the next one is as you make it, you can make it in. So then the two that I'm talking about, it's very doable and they will do it, okay? So, does anybody have any questions about these? And I'll answer the best. I hate to assume, I can only assume through the records I'm looking back in 2012, everything was approved, okay, to the previous owner. So again, I will establish, or we will establish a set number of cars for him not to exceed. And again, we will address any issues, and he's willing to work with us. Again, this was a surprise to him. Okay, he's also explained to me they had a lot of overflow cars through the pandemic, which they couldn't sell. They weren't permitted to sell them. Okay, so they were on the lot. So that was one of the issues. So I'm just asking, of course they're going to address you. I'm just asking if everybody's in agreement, they'll come to zoning, we'll work out some type of how many cars, what they're going to do there. And like I said, he had 37 cars in there, and actually he said that's probably the max he'll need. And they fit okay, and he'll be able to put some public parking, patron parking in there. So.
You said in the notes, Dennis, that it did say 30, or not to exceed 30?
It didn't say to exceed. The previous owner, anybody correct me if I'm wrong, previous owner said, I would like to have 30 cars. I think I can fit 30 cars.
Says they estimate they'll be able to place 30 vehicles.
Yeah, right, now that wasn't this owner.
Right.
It's a previous owner, okay?
There's
no record to establish how many cars would be there.
Is any of this lined?
No.
I'd like to see that as part of the agreement.
Well,
That's my biggest issue.
Okay.
Seeing that on a daily basis, leaving for work.
Okay.
There's people parking, like I said, on the roundabout. There's gotta be room for the public to get in there.
Well, yeah, that's what I said. The ingress and egresses will be taken care of, okay? The lines might not, I don't know if that's a reality. First of all, no other used car dealerships have. Okay, we need to be consistent and fair on there. As long as, but I'm not saying that, if that's what is desired, then we'll have to comply. But my main concern is that they are neatly in there and parked. The lines, I don't know what the lines do, except I don't know that they have to be DOT approved lines for a used car dealership. I don't know that. Can we, I will address everything. Obviously, I don't want to speak for them, so I'm going to let them talk, or his attorney talk, and we'll go from there.
Dennis, is the RV count is one big or three?
It's one day. That's it.
I'd like to see it go down to 35 next thing.
We'll, once.
I know they got rid of it.
Once sold.
Thank you. Yes.
But,
Thank you. Being mayor now, for the record, Robert also representing on behalf of Ace's Auto Sales. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Marine. He was very cooperative with me, provided me with the information so I could prepare some type of a presentation tonight. I fully recognized exactly what he recognized, and that is that there's a problem with ingress and egress. I've represented fire companies all over South Jersey, and obviously it's a concern. I addressed it to my client. I want you to understand one thing, and that is my client is more than willing to do whatever is necessary to become a good citizen in the borough of Westville. And he made that clear to me. He said, look, I don't want to have a problem. It's a good little town. I've got a lot of customers from there, and I don't want to have a problem with that. So, I have a certain amount of latitude to say to you that what you want within parameters certainly will be provided. Mentioning about the lines, I had that thought also. What he said is correct, and that is that the used car lots don't generally strike that. The reason for that is that it'd be different ways of presenting cars. They may pick a car that has a nice side to it, they want to put it in that position. They may point cars, in other words, put 3 or 4 this way and have one in the middle. They may desire to put a larger car on the side, so it's a little difficult to site it. However, in all fairness, likewise, we have a survey. It's all we got when we got the property was a survey on it. So we inherited whatever happened with it, whoever Aces was. And I will work with Mr. Marina and come up with a plan that will show that we can adequately park probably 35 cars in there without any problem whatsoever, with keeping the ingress and egress open at all times, and likewise having the customer parking. So I would only ask at this time if the mayor and council would be amenable to continuing this matter so that we could work together with it, and we'll accept whatever suggestions may be appropriate. I can't do any more than that. But we don't want to have a problem with the town. We don't intend to have a problem with the town. We'd rather have a situation in which, you know, that somebody on the council might want an automobile and come down and we could use the business after being closed down for a while. So is there anything I can offer at this time? I'll be glad to do that for you.
I have one question that
Yes,
wasn't addressed yet, according to these pictures, and I appreciate you working with our dentists and being cooperative. I know the egress was a concern, a safety concern for the fire department and anybody else that has to get in there with traffic and all that. The other concern that wasn't addressed was on some of these pictures I have in front of me, some of the back to the cars are overhanging the wall into the right of way of the sidewalk. That's a safety issue for maybe kids riding their bikes or people walking through there.
I saw that myself, and I instructed my client. It's an interesting situation. Most of the time, a lot runs this way. This is a kind of a roundabout type of situation, and his preference was to be able to show the front of the car as a customer walks out of the office rather than the rear of the car. But I explained to him that if he noses the car's in, the overhang is generally on the rear of the car. So I'm going to ask that he either bring the cars in with it to the line of the embankment, or alternatively turn the cars out so they face outward. That's all. That's an easy fix.
Not only that, it's hanging, they're also hanging over in other properties.
I wasn't sure who owned that property. I think my client owns the street.
The whole thing there?
Yeah, I think he owns the whole thing there. But, and that one driveway is useless, and we know that, but, so that's not even a question.
Mayor, concerning your overhang, there's a 2-foot section of grass, and the way I'm reading this highlighted existing lot, the hand-drawn plan, I think that was to account for any overhang. Doesn't actually impede on the sidewalk.
It's like an embankment.
Look, this one.
It goes onto the grass portion. It doesn't actually impede on the sidewalk itself, and I think that was part of the plan. If I'm reading these
All right, see what you're
from
saying.
2012, there's a 2-foot section, then the sidewalk, and then 5-foot easement. So I don't,
Yeah, as long as it's not a safety concern, a safety issue.
I've been around that block, I've been around that turn, and it does not go into, I have yet to see it go into the sidewalk area. It does overhang the grass part, but not the physical sidewalk where people would be walking or riding bikes.
Mayor, I did address that with Mr. Del Sole just before the meeting, and same thing Mr. Young said. I didn't see it going into the sidewalk, because I saw the grass burn there, and he was correct.
Okay.
But we're sure that that property is his, correct?
The property, he owns to the curb line itself. He owns the curb line, that's right.
Thank you for the clarification. Any other comments or questions?
Our application tonight is to continue, or they either have the license continue or have some type of so you can continue operation, that's all.
I believe at our last meeting, we did not approve a yearly one. It went from every 30 days.
Month to month, I had the letter from Mr. Marina indicated it was a month-to-month situation, so I would hope that the council would entertain some type of a timing so that he can continue his business, that's all.
For the council, certainly it's your decision. Mr. Del Sordo's representation would be, as indicated, as life would have it, Dennis got to meet with the owner of them just recently. Representations tonight, Dennis's representation, Mr. Del Sordo's representation. Seems like it would be beneficial to afford them that opportunity to meet, to try to figure out the schematics, the locations. And I'm assuming once that's been worked out, they'll come back, give the presentation, and look for a renewal of the license and the alternatives we choose to extend the temporary licensing until we're able to come back and finalize this process. It's something the council wants to do.
You're not gonna have a problem with us.
I'd like to see the egress, ingress on a plan somewhere before we go a year. I'd like to see a plan for that and a way to stay.
So we can ask for that and leave it at 30 days?
Yeah, we could ask for those considerations. I think Dennis, you're gonna be meeting and trying to work all those.
Yeah, I just wanna be sure what, Mr. Young's saying here. What do you-
The driveways that are blocked right now currently, I'd like to see that mitigated and the spots available for the public.
Yeah, okay.
In a plan and something written down before we go ahead and extend that.
That's gonna be part of the drawing I said,
Right, I
show
just
me
wanna
where
get
you're
it on
putting
the
your
record,
car.
yeah.
They'll have the measurements of the egress. But again, so I didn't mislead anybody, there are 3 entrance exits. One may be blocked, we'll see. Because it serves no purpose, it serves no purpose. So yes, that, they know that'll be on the plans and we'll do that. So-
But they could be marked on the plan that this is not an accident.
Yeah,
Just
Yeah.
do it that way. That eliminates when we're not here
Yeah.
someday and
absolutely.
you come back because somehow you're gonna put a second floor on.
I like that.
Yeah, and, I think cars going up and down, who knows what.
Carmina, that's one of the, so you give you a key, you get your car from an elevator.
Yeah, so, just something that, even on your existing survey, just try to get as close to scale, just to show everybody, so we'll work with you.
Yeah, what we have is a survey, and unfortunately, Mr. Sapio has passed away. So we're gonna have to try and get somebody to blow the survey up so that we can use that for that purpose and try and avoid the site plan. So site plan's coming up, So we'll try and work with what we have.
John, you make a copy for them for a cost.
I can reach out to the applicant and provide some assistance with some surveyors that they could use on their end. Or if they do scale, if they do make copies, I can verify that it is the scale. A lot of times you make photocopies and blow things up, you lose the scale of the drawing, so just to make sure everything's accurate.
Because what we have now is not, you can't use it for that purpose. We sort of, the Elio, we said go down there or so, blueprint, try and get a larger scale and then work with that. So, but as I said, you're not gonna have a problem with us. I mean, whatever Mr. Marino wants, certainly he's been more than cooperative and matter of fact, I have to say for the record, it feels good to have a code enforcement officer immediately jump on something, say, let's help you, let's see what we can do, here's the papers we have, so we work together. It's a rewarding feeling. I taught this on a statewide basis. I mean, it's an interesting situation. I worked for Rutgers University in Long Branch, New Jersey, and we had a statewide zoning officer seminar, and it was over 300 zoning officers came in, and one of the things I said is, remember, tomorrow morning, no matter what you do, he'll still be a taxpayer in that municipality. And it was, always worked on that, and I appreciate it. He's a model for just what we were trying to do at Rutgers. So thank you.
So, do we really need them to provide something to scale? A drawing that would show the 3 spots for customers, the egress and ingress that are open should be sufficient as long as that's in the plan. Something to scale where they have to spend that money doesn't make good business sense to.
If it's not to scale, it should be dimensioned out, so
Yeah.
everybody knows for a fact that you're gonna have a 24-foot wide entranceway or whatever.
That's
it
what I'm
might
looking
be.
for.
Yeah.
You know?
What we have, it's so difficult right now, it's unfortunate. And so, I mean, I'd like to get it blown up, and I'll take a look at it, Mr. Bryson, take a look at it if necessary, and certainly compensate him for his time, and put something together so that the borough now has something that's formal and they can keep in the records. You know, we need it as bad as you do.
Right, I don't want, what
No,
I'm
I
saying is,
appreciate
I don't
it.
want you to have to put out anything you don't have to,
No.
if we can get by with what we got.
That was the
Okay.
opinion of me.
All right.
I appreciate it, thank you, Councilman, I appreciate that.
Any other comments?
Thank you for your trouble tonight.
Thank you.
So the motion would be to continue the temporary licensing and to afford them an opportunity, whether it's 30 days or 60 days, to get back to us with the completed project.
And to work with code enforcement, I'll make that motion.
Mr. Scavini, did you say that you needed them to come back, or if they present everything to me, I write up exactly what the number of vehicles they can add there with this and that, they sign the copy of my things, is that enough to present, or do you want them to come back? Or,
I defer to my bosses.
I would like to see Tim, so, I don't like him, just say hello if nothing else.
I understand your comment. If you're satisfied, likely they would be satisfied. I just don't know if that's.
Yeah, I don't need, no disrespect, I don't need to see council here again on his dime, but,
Well, by the way, they don't have to pay lawyers either.
what we will establish number of vehicles, the ingress, egress, and then after the, and then the patron parking. And that'll all be down, just like we would normally do on the subcommittee anyway, everybody signs it, so, okay.
You know,
I just wanted, so we don't,
Unless asked, it sounds like Dennis will be the one that brings it back to
you know,
us.
in all fairness, Tim and I, back, what, 40 years now?
At least, yes. Yep, you do.
Thank you.
Okay, so we do have a motion, do we have a
Yes.
second?
Second.
Bruce made the motion, Tim seconded. Any other questions on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember D'Amico?
Yes.
Councilmember Lawrence?
Yes.
Councilmember Nordeby?
Yes.
Councilmember Young?
Yes.
Council President Berthold?
yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.
am I done here, Mayor? Because I want to speak to them.
Yes. Like I'm at dinner time, I don't
We got to do that.
Okay. Next order, please.
We received a communication from Westville Township with information regarding their creation of a cannabis business overlay zone in their municipality.
And everybody got a copy of that. Next order, please.
We have the public portion. Individuals must state their name and address for the record and respect the 5-minute time limit while addressing the governing body. Individuals wanting to speak need to wait for the mayor to acknowledge them. Once acknowledged, individuals must speak into the microphone and address their questions to the mayor.
Council.
Motion over.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. The meeting is now open to the general public for any concerns, comments you'd like to address with council. You're first, Joyce. I saw you jumping.
Joyce Hubble, 328 Summit Avenue. I'm sure many of you have come across the railroad track at Little River only to find some muscle trucks sitting by the bar, and as you weave around them, suddenly you're staring down a semi. That's happened to me many times. I sometimes have nightmares over it. The rail house now has a parking lot. The trucks should be over in the parking lot. That route is a designated alternative bi-directional truck route for trucks that can't go into the railroad crossing or for flood issues. It's time we put up signs that emergency vehicles only can park on that street and get the cars where they belong. And I can sleep better. Thank you.
Joyce, we have a meeting coming up at the end of this month to create an ordinance for no parking on Little River Drive now that they have parking. So we are in the process of that.
Yes.
Just until that process is complete, we can't enforce.
We can't enforce it. Just last time when I saw the 3 oversized trucks sitting in front of the bar, the parking lot was bone empty. They were just lining up in front of the bar from, I guess from habit. They want to watch their cars. I can appreciate that, but there's no excuse for it. If we had a fire engine that needed to get down there are times when there's just no place to back up or go to. And we need to be aware of the emergency setup. Even a trash truck becomes a problem going down the street. But thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Joyce, and as I mentioned to you on our phone conversation, as Councilman said, we did talk about it at the last meeting from your message, and there's a meeting to address it. Thank you. Any other comments from the public?
Ken Lee of 144 Oak Ave, so there's two things I want to make. So one is a suggestion I thought of over the past month, as Pride Month that just passed by, and that is for Westville to form an inclusion alliance that basically serves as something that we can use to create more celebrations, such as like a Pride Parade in Westville, but also I want that to be served as an educational purpose as well, since I face discrimination even in certain stores in Deptford, which it's 2021 now, and I find it a little bit appalling that I'm being discriminated against over my sexual orientation. So I would like to form an inclusion alliance. It's just, I'm having trouble trying to form it. I've done some of it, in which I've invited people on Facebook to form the group. I'm just still trying to get into works of it. And then the second thing this refers back to Councilwoman D'Amico's comment about all the abandoned properties. I was reading up on something that Pennsylvania State had done, which is called the Pennsylvania Abandoned and Blighted Property Conservatorship Act, in which if a certain individual is able to prove that a property has been empty for at least 12 months with the current owner not being able to show proof that they have been actively marketing the property to be rented out or sold, that an individual can come and file a petition in which they're able to act as a conservator for the owner of the property and try and get it inhabited some way. So I know it might be out of Westville's position to do that, but I would like to see that not only do residents of Westville can write to the senator and assemblyman, but also see if council can write something up, because not only is it affecting the individual residential properties, but even certain commercial properties on Broadway as well. That's all I have.
Ken, look at your first topic, your inclusion. I would like you to present something.
Okay.
And I tell this to everybody when they want to have a specialized organization like that, or specialize anything in town. Send a letter on plans for it, for us to consider.
Okay.
That would be the first step.
Yeah, but just by choice, in Woodbury last night, they had, it's called the Human Rights Commission and another name, but they modified it by ordinance. But they do have a Human Rights Commission, which goal is to, suggest policies and plans and to the municipality's system and addressing all those. You might want to look at what they just did in Woodbury as a template. It's formed by it's by the city council, but it's a commission that they adopted by ordinance, and then they put members on it and empower them to try to do those types of things you discussed, awareness, programs, policies, present that to them. So there it's called the Human Rights Commission. It might help you out to get started.
Okay?
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments?
Hello, Marissa Marin. I live on 5 3rd Ave, the corner of River Drive. I've come here to the meetings before, and I discussed with you earlier, Mayor, about the guardrail. I was declined from New Jersey DOT, and I just want to know if there's anything that I can do with my own property, or if there's some kind of collaboration that, me and Westville can do together. I don't know if there's, the only things that I'm thinking are like, they have at the mall, like the giant planters, which we talked about earlier, or even like a sign where the first house coming into Westville, welcome to Westville, something, you know, that maybe we can collaborate on, I don't know. But I just wanna protect myself, I have 2 little boys, and, it's really scary. There's people going up and down the street on the wrong side of on the wrong side, there's people hopping over the curb. It's really crazy. So, I just wanna see what anybody can help us with.
Thank you for your comments, Marissa. The text that you sent me today with DOT's denial, so to speak, I did forward that to Councilwoman D'Amico, because I know she was trying to work on it. And I did mention it before the meeting to our engineer for possibly some help of what, like you just said, come up with on your property.
Right.
And any other things else that we can do, but I don't know what else we can do if the DOT actually denied you.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't put nothing there if they
Right.
actually denied it.
I mean, right now I have the fence that we, you know, bought the house with. I'm looking to change that, you know, it's kind of falling apart, so I will move my fence back. Whatever I can do, I just need something to, you know, I don't wanna have nightmares anymore about that.
I mean, you could
It's
consider
scary.
bollards, you know, pipes filled with concrete or steel.
Yeah, like anything. But I don't want it to look trashy for the
Right.
first house, you know, coming right over the bridge.
You can paint them rainbow.
Yeah.
You'll look.
Hey, whatever we can do, I just want it safe.
I'm
It's
just saying
very
that
scary.
That's an inexpensive fix. You're looking for some protection.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the issue with bollards that comes up is if they're treated as a fixed object or not. So they can also be a liability if somebody runs off the road and hits them and they get injured by hitting the bollards. But I did have a conversation with the mayor. I can review the response from NJDOT to see what their issues were with the warrants versus on the guide rail, and then take a look at it in the field to see if there's anything we can maybe do, not necessarily within the DOT right away, but maybe you can do on your own private property. that
Right.
You wouldn't need the DOT's permission for, so.
Right.
I'll get that response from the DOT, from the mayor, from the administrator, and then we can follow up with you.
That was wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, Joyce.
Sorry.
Joyce Level 328 Summit. Her response about the DOT, I'm gonna throw another one back at you on the DOT. In their wisdom to make sure people knew where 130 and 45 split, they came around and put these huge signs on the highway to tell people, one of them for 130 is beside her property. Come out of my street on Summit and sit there and look back towards the bridge. There are 2 lanes going south on 130. The Jeep sits high. I can't see the west side lane on that bridge until the car is all the way down on River. It is completely blocked by that sign. I don't know what you can do about it, but it has to be raised, it has to be moved, because when I'm sitting there waiting to pull out the traffic, I should have the ability to know how far and judge when a car is going to hit me at Summit Avenue. And that is where I got hit, so that's why I'm asking. So you need to come down and just sit there in a regular car and then just look back and watch the cars coming over. You will not see them until they're down on River Drive. Thank you.
I would ask our Public Works Department and our Chief of Police to take a look at that and contact the appropriate officials, state officials, DOT, see if they can.
John, is there a limit? They have to be a certain height, am I correct on that?
Yes.
7 foot.
That's what I thought.
It's municipal, I don't know what DOT's regs are, but
But
there's
it's
also
7.
line of sight issues too, which I'm sure that doesn't apply to the DOT.
Can we look into it? See.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Joyce?
That will work.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, we need a motion to close the public portion.
So,
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is now closed to the public. Next order, please.
You have comments from mayor, council, and department heads.
Administrator Ryan.
I have one thing. I received a letter from a resident sent to us, and I just want to bring it to everybody's attention. I never really thought about it, but she said, my daughter's going to the park, and however, there's no equipment and play area for her to play on. She has development issues, cerebral palsy. It's actually heartbreaking to see my daughter trying to play on swings in any other area in park, and she just can't use any of it because it's for babies or kids without physical disabilities. Please guide me towards who I can either contact to make sure it happens. My child is nonverbal, and I'm voiced by I'm her voice, but the disappointment in her eyes that she can't enjoy the park as other kids makes my heart break. Please help me make the park for children for different abilities. She deserves to have as much fun as every child in this beautiful town. And I didn't know, as we put a lot of money into with the park, so I would like to look into, maybe providing some things for people that are some with disabilities and stuff like that. I don't know what's out there.
There are tons out
I mean,
there.
I'm sure there is. I mean, and try to get some of those type of
Ron,
things in the park.
I sent pictures of that type of swing to
Yeah.
Marty as we were talking about the bond ordinance and everything, so.
Okay.
He has something I think will.
It was just nice. I want to respond to her.
Address that, but we might be able to take it some further, so.
Mm.
Show them pictures of that, took pictures down the shore of it, actually, pretty sharp.
Just wanted to bring that up. That's all I have.
Yeah, if we could help them, they have the right to have fun too in that park, so we can get something for them, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Anything else on
The financial disclosures were all due. We got pretty much 99.9 done, so we're good there. So that's a good thing for the community. All that's getting done at this time. I will probably have something in the next month for the audit. I don't know how that's looking. The tax rate was struck today in the county, and the tax bills will probably be going out by the end of next week. Sorry.
Put your phone on to your ear.
Yep.
You'll be getting them. Okay, thank you, Ryan. Solicitor, Tim?
I have no report, Mayor, thank you.
Engineer, John?
Thanks, Mayor. Just a couple quick things. I just wanted to let the governing body know that the Green Acres application for the stewardship grant for the pond dredging did get submitted today to Green Acres for consideration. So hopefully we do get consideration for that grant. The other thing is the Boundary Lane NJDOT project. The bid opening is next Wednesday, so hopefully we get some good numbers in. We had a lot of contractors pick up for that project, so fingers crossed. That's all I have there.
Good.
John,
Thank
the turnaround on that, and what would that be by the time the bid opening and was the clocks running?
Yeah, probably about a month. Chuck has asked about the NJDOT for approval of the award. So once it's awarded, we can just be matter of
Start,
the grants.
but we can engineer that to start at the school and work our way out.
Yeah, we can work around the school. Yes.
Just if we can get that done before school starts.
I mean, we
Yeah,
can,
it's
you
gonna
can
be a
work.
not
tight
gonna
timeline,
happen.
but we'll have to work
It
around.
won't happen after that.
Yeah, a lot of times
It
what
won't
we
happen
can do
after
too
that.
is we could get the school scheduled for the year and then kind of, look at dates that they have off and work accordingly with that as well.
We do have
Try to
that,
be
we
as
have
less of
that.
an issue
Send
with,
that to you.
yeah.
Thank you for that report. Anything else, John?
That's all there.
Chief?
I have nothing at this time, Mayor.
Public Works, Mike?
Status quo, Mayor and Council, working hard to keep the Borough of Westville looking in good shape. In Marty's absence, if any council or mayor happens to need anything, feel free to reach out to me and I'll get it done as soon as possible.
Chase the geese on River Drive.
It's well, it's a moral
Bring some back to
conundrum.
Brooklyn.
It's a
Brooklyn
moral,
geese, so you have
it's
to
a
think
moral
about it.
conundrum. I'm a hunter.
I'll
So
be
we
more
need
than
to
happy
use
to bring my
that.
dog
But I will tell you,
He
Brooklyn,
needs it.
I certainly don't wanna see the geese go somewhere else. But Brooklyn has spent money on having.
Chasing the Westville.
No. They are spraying this.
I'll bring my dog for free.
They're spraying this non-toxic chemical on the grass. I'm telling you, I've seen a drastic reduction in geese over the last 3 years, which.
I mean, you still get it,
personally-
but it's not as bad as it was.
I personally hate it. I mean, it's definitely, it's a drastic change. So that might be something that, mayor and council wanna look into. I recommend don't, that's just me.
I know, you're just gonna give it to us, because you're a part of our public work.
But, Ryan can certainly supply mayor and council with the contract that we hold for Brooklawn. And, I would definitely make a recommendation for these guys to accept it. It does help a lot, so.
We gotta look into this further.
Just makes the grass taste like not good goose grass.
I'll bring my dog.
I tried to get the dog we had.
I'll do it for free.
Bring it, 7 o'clock in the morning.
He'll be happy. It's a hunting dog, he's 3 years old, he'll be happy. All will be through.
7 in the morning, there's 200 of them out there.
We're on social media today. Anything else, Mike?
No, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for filling in for Marty.
Yes, sir.
Deputy Clerk Kate,
Nothing, Mayor, thank you.
Councilman Orderby.
I just have one thing, back and forth with the paver people for the 9/11 project. The people that I spoke to told me to contact EP Henry because everybody else was getting shot down. We already had the paperwork in for it. And I called EP Henry today and they said, we're not honoring that, sorry. Due to COVID, we don't have the papers. John's associate, along with myself, are trying to track down some pavers and see what we can get done. But that's our next dilemma right now. What I heard. Now you have they said you have a letter of approval, we'll get you those pavers, but probably not till August of next year. So that doesn't really help us.
What else did we do? That's a shame. That's,
Well, like I said, I'm going with,
How about stamped concrete?
we could, I mean, that would, I had talked to John's guy about that as well, so. But that would be last resort. We are trying to work on some things right now to try and find them. If we can't, the committee will have to make a decision what we're gonna do. It's just one thing after another. But that's all I have.
thank you for that, terrible news. Councilman Young?
Mayor, the only thing I have is that the 29th is our ordinance committee meeting, and we will address what was brought up tonight and other topics. That's it.
Tim, can you also put on that list, I'm not sure if Ryan still has it on your desk, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong. We also have an issue with tractor trailers starting to park on our streets, which aren't supposed to. I know I talked to the chief about it on several occasions. I know he talked to our solicitor about it. That's become an issue, and our ordinance is kind of backwards, I think.
Yeah, that's correct. It says that there's no parking from, or they can park, I'm trying to think how it would work, from 12 a.m.
You can park in the daytime, but you
You
can't
can't
park
park
at
in
nighttime.
between, 12 a.m. and 7 a.m., correct?
Yeah.
So it's definitely backwards.
So recently, we've had a problem with 2 different tractor trailers parking on Delsey Drive, right at the pond. And at certain times, there's nothing we can do about it. And they really don't belong there at all, in my opinion. Especially at Duncan Avenue, the safety hazard coming out of there. You can't see.
So we're still working on that whole Broadway parking ordinance. We can address that in that same ordinance, I believe.
What about checking out state highway regulation? Because Delsey Drive is a state highway.
Well,
I
yeah, that's
think-
why we said
I think,
it.
that's why he talked to Tim about it, and, we want to elaborate on that, Tim? State highway, or?
John, for some reason I'm drawing a blank on what I respond back to you.
We could find that out.
Well, I think the one case is going to court, the one ticket, so we might have more,
guidance from it all.
I think we did say issue a ticket, right?
Oh, yeah, they were issued.
Yeah. Then I'll look further into the DOT questions, and Jonathan, anything strike you?
All right, Tim, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman D'Amico,
No comment, thank you.
Councilman Morris.
Yeah, a couple things. Our next big event, September 25th, is our Fall Festival from 10 to 4. Still looking for vendors, food vendors, craft vendors, stuff like that. But planning stages are underway, things are going well. Couple questions by residents. One was, can we look at the possibility of the alley between Lorenzo's and Xavier Hall, making that a one-way in? Instead of coming out to Broadway, make it a one-way in and then exit out towards, what's that, Center or whatever? Center Street, yeah.
I know we talked about that, we've been talking about it, and I believe we're trying, we need to find out who actually owns it to do that. Do we know who's
Even
going to
walking right away, it goes out to Delsey, from the other side to Schling side. I don't think we own it, I think we could.
I think we own that. That's technically Pine Street. The alley going into Firehouse. But I mean, how can we do anything until we figure out what's going on with that building? Because we don't own that parking lot to direct all the traffic through it.
Right, well, it was in conversation that, Travis was talking about, and that was also mentioned,
Yeah.
so.
I mean, once that other, if it ever happens, that would make sense.
Yeah.
But we couldn't do it until then, right? You have to own the property.
That's what I mean, we
Yeah.
don't know who owns it,
No, but I mean, own the parking lot.
eventually.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So it is on the list, or
Yeah,
to
no.
continue to.
I understand. It's just a couple residents brought that to my attention, and I almost got T-boned a couple times, going down Broadway myself, so I understand the issue. The other thing is, was someone asked about, on Olive by the fire department. I know we don't have the ambulance anymore, and at one time there was signage up there about do not block the box. Was asked if that can be put back, both going eastbound and westbound, signage on both sides.
Well, the whole thing's painted, it's faded.
I think, yeah, and painted, I guess.
So, check and see what's there now.
Well, there was a sign there originally, and then I guess it got hit or taken out, or whatever the deal was. But it was asked if that one can be replaced, and then we can put one going the opposite way. So one eastbound, one westbound.
We could talk to, Mike, you can talk to, Marty.
I could make it happen if you want that, I'll make it
Yeah,
happen.
just order. Just order.
Yeah.
Clarify, this isn't from the fire department,
No.
right? Just making sure. I'm a member there, and I don't remember any of them, so.
No. No, not at all. It was a resident, I believe what happened, there was a call, and there was a resident that noticed, guys trying to get into the parking lot and stuff like that, where it was, the light happened to be red, and people were blocking the box, so they approached me and said, hey, can we do something about this?
There's a little part there with the signs, even bright colored paint.
I understand that, but if we can alleviate something.
And just in my professional opinion, it's more of a paint on the ground than it is signage. I tend to think that individuals, the motoring public tends to overlook signs a lot because New Jersey loves signs. We're not the Garden State anymore, we're the sign state. But we'll put one both east, replace the one on the eastbound and then put one on the westbound. and take that area.
I mean, it's already paid. We've dealt with it for years. It doesn't matter. That light changes so quick going across there that the people don't want to give up that extra car length, so they're right on the next person's butt. So it's, you could paint it, you could put up something, they'll find a way around.
Woodbury's got signs and paint, and people still park in front of that.
We have signs and paper.
Well, no, it's part of your driver's test to know you can't block emergency exits, but
John, can you contact DOT, maybe we'll get the timing of the westbound Olive Street, the Route 45 light to extend that a little bit, so, and again, that's why our accidents are there, they're trying to, because the light across the street stays green, the light at the tracks turns red, across on 45 is still green.
Yep.
Not that I do that, but it's still green on the highway side.
I was green on the other side.
That's how I see it.
That's right.
Still yellow when I'm through.
That's right. I don't care what your photo says.
What else you got, Travis?
And, well, I mean, it's on the driver's test to not park right next to a stop sign too, but you can still do that in town. The other question was, we talked about a beaver issue off of, what's that, Fourth or whatever that is, back there, building beaver dams and stuff. I know we discussed it in the past. Has there ever been a resolution? Residents were asking about a resolution on that. Have we ever gone anywhere with that?
Well, yeah, Ludwig called me from the incinerator, and they said they didn't see anything at this point. They were gonna send their team, I guess via boat, whenever there's water in the swamp, to check it out.
All right.
But I'll follow up with them.
Perfect. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Travis. Council President Marshall?
Nothing to I made enough comments.
I'm sorry.
I made enough comments tonight. All fan.
Under mayoral comments, I have really nothing that we haven't already talked about, other than just to continue to make a difference and get involved. Thank you. Any other business to come before council? If not, we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
They say nobody wants to leave.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you everyone for coming out. Thank you.